This excerpt is from the book entitled Elohim, the Archetype, Original Pattern of the Universe, written by Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley. This excerpt is called The Importance of Rightly Dividing the 7 Dispensations and Ages. I will begin. The Apostle Paul told Timothy to study, to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. 2 Timothy 2:15. Time begins and ends within the realm of eternity. Therefore, we must bear in mind, know, understand, and remember the difference between one age and the other, the difference between one dispensation and the other. The following definitions of an age and dispensation were taken from a Webster's dictionary. Age, a particular period or time of history as distinguished from another, a historical epoch. For example, each age is approximately 2,000 years long. First, the antediluvian age is a short age of 1,656 years, beginning with the finished creation and ending at the flood. Second, the post-diluvian age is a long age of 2,377 years, beginning after the flood and ending at the cross or Pentecost. Third, while the present age must be a short age beginning at Pentecost and will end with the revelation of Yahshua the Messiah from heaven, which will usher in the age of immortality. Dispensation, the divine ordering of the affairs of the world, an appointment or arrangement as by Yahweh, a divinely appointed order or system. For example, Yahweh Elohim used certain individuals to begin and end a particular affair for a certain period of time, effective upon the people at that time, such as, first, beginning with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, to their expulsion. Second, Noah's commission to build an ark for the saving of his household from the flood, and the destruction of mankind and animal life from the earth to the establishment of the Noahic covenant after the flood. Third, Abraham's call and promise to bless all nations in his seed, Isaac, a figure of Yahshua the Messiah. Fourth, the Old Testament or covenant with Israel under the dispensation of the law by the leadership of Moses, Joshua, and others to the fulfillment of Yahshua the Messiah. 5. The new covenant or kingdom of Yahshua the Messiah, established on the day of Pentecost with the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. 6. The kingdom manifested in mortality must take on immortality. 7. Finally, the purpose of Yahweh must be fulfilled in return to the Sabbath, or rest in the day of eternity. A more complete detailed account of the ages and dispensations are found on page 95. Also see chart on page 127. This next excerpt is called The Erroneous Belief Concerning the Sacred Records. It is generally believed and quite frequently taught that the sacred records of the creation of heaven and earth and all that in them is, plus the genealogies of mankind and the current events, were uninterruptedly transmitted from generation to generation, from Adam to Moses. This transmission of the sacred records is thought to be possible because of the longevity of the people at that time, and that the total elapsed chronological period reaching from Adam to the flood is a relatively short period of 1,656 years. From the flood to the exodus of Israel, or to Moses, represents a short chronological period of 857 years. The total period of time from the creation of Adam to Moses, taking into consideration the long lifespan of the antediluvian patriarchs and combining the chronological periods involved before the flood and after the flood, represents a period of 2,513 years, plus 7 creative days or years, with Israel equals 2,520. The persons involved in the transmission or the sacred records, according to their theory, would be the following. First, Adam, the first earthly created man, whose wife was Eve, whose total lifespan was 930 years, begot Cain and Abel and other sons and daughters. Genesis 5 and 4-5. Second, Seth, the son of Adam, was born in the 130th year of Adam's life. The total lifespan of Seth was 912 years. Third, Enoch, the seventh generation from Adam, was born in the 622nd year after the creation of Adam and translated in the year 987. Enoch was 365 years old at the time of his translation. Fourth, Methuselah, born in the 687th year of Adam's life, was 969 years old at the time of his death in 1656 AM, the year of the flood which took place in the 600th year of Noah's life. 5. Noah, born in the year 1056 AM, lived a total lifespan of 950 years, and begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, which places his death in the year of 2006 AM, or 350 years after the flood, and died in the year 2158 AM, or 1846 BY. From the partial genealogical calculation on the preceding page, we can readily see and understand that Methuselah was born in 687 AM and lived 243 years before the translation of Enoch, 350 years of Noah's life before the flood, and also 98 years of Shem's life before the flood. Therefore, we can understand how the oral or written records could pass from Adam through Seth, Enoch, and Methuselah to Noah and Shem in the antediluvian age during the 1,650 years from Adam to the flood. Skipping the immediate descendants of Shem, the patriarch, Abraham's vocation first began to take place about 427 years after the flood, and Shem died 502 years after the flood, which would make the call of Abraham 75 years before the death of Shem. Therefore, it is quite possible that Shem and Abraham could have become acquainted during the lifetime of Shem and received, in the post-diluvian age, the sacred records which some of the theologians claim were passed from Shem to Abraham. It was to Abraham and his seed to whom Yahweh Elohim had promised the blessing. Ishmael was the first son of Abraham by Hagar, the bondwoman Gentile, and Isaac was the second son of Abraham, but he, Isaac, was the first and only son of Abraham by Sarah, his first wife, Hebrew. And Isaac shall thy seed be called. After the death of Sarah, Abraham also had 6 sons by his second wife, Keturah, named 1 Zimran, 2 Jokshan, 3 Medan, 4 Midian, 5 Ishbak, and 6 Shuah. Genesis 25 and 1-2. Jacob was the son of Isaac and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, whose posterity Moses led out of the land of Egypt and the house of bondage, 430 years after the promise was made. Therefore, from the previous enumeration, one can understand why the belief has continued through the years that the sacred records were given to Abraham and were transmitted from him to his son Isaac, and from Isaac to Jacob his son, and to the 12 sons of Jacob who transmitted those records to Moses. This explanation, then, covers the total chronological period of 2,513 years, plus 7 years, equaling 2,520 years, 7 years as the 7 days of creation, reaching from Adam to Moses. However, this belief of some theologians of the transmission of the sacred records of the creation of heaven and earth and the current events of the antediluvian age is disputable, in part because these medieval and modern academically trained, scientific, and philosophically minded theologians see at a glance that if this explanation is accepted, it would immediately establish Adam as the writer of the book of Genesis, in which was recorded many historical events, which occurred 5 days prior to Adam's creation, Genesis 1 and 1-26, and over 2,000 years after his death, Genesis 5 and 1-5. For this reason in particular, this class of theologians discard the idea that Adam or any of the antediluvian patriarchs wrote the book of Genesis, and declare Moses to be the true inspired writer of the book in question. This view brings to light another great twofold complicated question. If Adam is to be rejected as the writer of the book of Genesis on the basis that it contains many historical events which occurred 5 days before his own creation, and also many other events which occurred over 2,000 years after his death, the book of Genesis ends with the death of Joseph, How then could Moses write the history of the creation of heaven and earth, and all that in them is, and the current historical events of the antediluvian age, and a part of the events of the post-diluvian age, which occurred over 2,000 years before he was born? To further add to the confusion, before we even attempt to answer the great twofold controversial question, we shall state here that there are some theologians and so-called scientifical and biblical critics that believe that there are two cosmological accounts of the creation contained in the book of Genesis. These so-called theologians and scientifical biblical critics have declared against Moses as being the writer of the so-called two cosmogonies in the book of Genesis. To defend their convictions, they claim that George Smith, archaeologist of the British Museum, unearthed Assyrian terracotta tablets at Nineveh in 1875 AD, which they falsely claim are older than Moses' writings of the book of Genesis, and which they further claim give accounts to the creation, the temptation, the Tower of Babel, and the flood virtually identical with the Genesis account, which we claim and prove were first revealed to Moses, but they fail to tell us where, when, where, or who wrote these tablets. These Bible critics say that the accounts of Moses were copied from the Babylonian account after their captivity to Babylon. See the Bible in the Balance by Charles Smith, editor of the Truth Seeker, and see also the Bible Dictionary articles on cosmogony by Funk and Wagnall, page 152. Also see article on Assyro-Babylonian mythology from Larousse Encyclopedia of Mythology, page 49. The great twofold controversial question is answered in this way. 1. Yahweh Elohim appeared to the patriarchs in the antediluvian age, and some of them in the post-diluvian age as mentioned above, long before the time of Moses by the name of El Shaddai. But they never wrote or documented any of their communications they had with him. Exodus 6:3. Therefore, no man on earth before Moses or at that time except Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, Exodus 24:13, knew the true name of the Father, Yahweh our Elohim. But Moses alone, to whom Yahweh introduced himself at the burning bush in the wilderness of Sinai, Exodus 3:2-8. Therefore, the name Yahweh our Elohim appears in the book of Genesis many times, which proves beyond question that Moses did write the book of Genesis after the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. See pictures and illustrations on page 13. Second, let it here be known that Moses had three distinct experiences with Yahweh Elohim speaking or calling unto him from the mount as follows and in this order. First, Yahweh Elohim, the first time, called Moses up into the mount and spoke to him from out of the mount and gave him instructions and warnings concerning the children of Israel, giving them 3 days to clean up and gather around the mount, before he spoke and gave the 10 Commandment law. See the 19th chapter of Exodus. Second, Yahweh again the second time called Moses up into the mount in the midst of the cloud, in which he was given the tables of stone with the 10 Commandment law written thereon, and showed unto him the vision of the tabernacle and the creation of the heavens and earth in a logical sequence of 6 solar days. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. See the 24th chapter of Exodus, and also chart on creation shown to Moses, page 18. Third, Yahweh said unto Moses the third time, Hew thee 2 tables of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables, which thou broke. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount. See Exodus 34 and 1-2. Moses went up into the mount, and he was there with Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water, and he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. Exodus 34 and 28. See also chart on genealogy shown to Moses his third trip, page 21. We are here concerned with the visions Moses received while in the mount the second and third times, as related above, which together comprise the book of Genesis. A. Moses alone, The second time he was called into the mount as related above, in number 2 saw the vision of Elohim, the archetype, original pattern of the universe, in the process of creating the heavens and earth, or the greater and more perfect tabernacle, which is the universe, in a logical sequence of 6 solar days, and resting on the Sabbath or 7th day, as related in the first part of the book of Genesis, which is Moses' record of the visions while in the mount, Exodus 24 and 16. B. He also thereafter, while still in the mount, saw the vision of the tabernacle, Exodus 25 and 8-9 and 40. He saw also the book written by Yahweh, Exodus 32 and 32-33, and Revelations 20 and 12-15, and received the law of commandments written with the finger of Elohim on tables of stone, which Moses threw down and broke, after he saw that the children of Israel had made a golden calf, when he descended from the mount the second time. C. Elohim told Moses to hew out 2 tables of stone, like unto the first tables, before he was called into the mount the third time, as related in number 3, after which he received his knowledge of the Adamic transgression and Adamic expulsion and genealogies of mankind, except Melchizedek, king and priest of Salem, and the historical events of the antediluvian age, which none of the patriarchs from the time of Adam could write as mentioned in the foregoing paragraphs, Exodus 34 and 1-2. D. Yahweh Elohim spoke to Moses in the wilderness from within the burning bush about Amram, his father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Exodus 3 and 2-6, which shows that this knowledge of the genealogies and pedigrees of the patriarchs was by vision and divine inspiration. Moreover, no man prior to Moses and the children of Israel in the wilderness in the 2nd month, Ziph, after they came out of Egypt, knew anything about the gathering of manna 6 days and the keeping of the Sabbath or 7th day, rest, Exodus 16 and 26. Thereafter, in the 3rd month, Sivan, when Yahweh spoke and gave the commandments from Mount Sinai, he reminded them to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy, Exodus 20 and 8. See also and compare Genesis 1 and 31-34 with Exodus 24 and 16, or Genesis 2 and 1-4 with Exodus 24 and 16, which is further proof that Moses beyond a question did write the book of Genesis after the exodus of Israel from Egypt. See pictures and illustrations on page 13 and 14. What the ancient and modern academically trained scientific and philosophical or carnal-minded theologians and biblical critics are totally unaware of is that they are reading Moses' vision as is that he received while in the mount when reading the book of Genesis. For a further and more detailed explanation of the above, see article under the caption Yahweh, Abraham, and Moses in relation to the children of Israel. This excerpt is from the book entitled Elohim the Archetype, Original Pattern of the Universe, Understanding the Erroneous Belief Concerning the Sacred Record, written by Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, and narrated by Yahshuans Giving Glory.